Okay, welcome back. In this video, I'd just like to just wrap up a couple of things that just what we've been talking about over the last few videos. Just recap a few ideas and introduce a couple of other ideas, and that would be good. So the first thing I wanted to just talk about. So we've got our treble clef here and our bass clef here. Now what you'll find is that whenever there's a bass clef and a treble clef together, that they'll usually be connected by something that looks a little bit like that. Now this is called a bracket or a brace or a curly bracket, and you know, hand drawn it looks something like that, but on a proper piece of manuscript you'll see it look something like this, right? And that's just whenever there's a treble clef and a bass clef drawn together, you'll see this. Now what do I mean drawn together? Well, there are some instruments where you'll need both of these. A piano, for example, is very common because the right hand, right, usually plays notes from middle C up. Right, so this would be your, please excuse the drawing once more, but I think it'll serve a purpose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, little finger. Oh, that's right. So there's our right hand, right, playing these notes. Let me change the color. And then our left hand usually will play notes below middle C. Now this, of course, is not set in stone. Oftentimes the left hand will play above middle C, and the right hand will have to play below middle C. So I've just said something interesting there, that sometimes the left hand can play above middle C, and that the right hand can sometimes play below middle C. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's have a look. Let's work this out together. There's middle C, right? There's middle C. So there is D, and there is E, right? We know that. We know that this is a D. It's going line, space, line, space. It always goes line, space, line, space. All right, so we've got middle C. What if we went lower than middle C? I said the right hand can play below middle C, and we know this note is a B, right? So how do we go below middle C? Well, line, space, let's just have a look. That was a terrible line. Right, so there's middle C. How do we draw a note below middle C? Well, there's a line. Let's go space. Space. Right, we can imagine the next line is there, so we just put it on a space. Right? So that note there is that note there, B. What about this note below middle C? A. Well, line, space. Remember, if we imagine that's the line there, A, well, let's just say this is C, this is B. What's A going to look like? A is going to look like, let's draw this line out, line, space, line. So this A here is this A here. What about G? And I'm running out of room, but I'm sure you'll understand. Line, space, line, space. Interesting, right? So this is G. See, just going down below middle C. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to put those notes here. So this is treble clef. There's C. There's B. There's A. And there's G. Okay, looks good. Now what about, let me just come over here. Now, in the bass clef, we know that this is middle C here, right? There's middle C. So this B, how do we usually draw that B in the bass clef? C, B, right? Okay. One below B, A. Is that usually our A? Well, let's check. What's the rhyme for the lines in the bass clef? We learnt that in the last couple of videos. Green buses drive fast always. Yes, it is an A. So what about this G? All cows eat grass, G. Now my question to you, we've just said that this is C, B, A, and G, but in the treble clef, we said this was C, and we said this was B, this was A, and this was G. So we've said that here, C, B, A, G, right? C, B, A, G, going below middle C. This right here is middle C. This is middle C here. And then in the bass clef, our normal bass clef, middle C, remember these two notes are the same notes, exactly the same note. So my question to you, are these two notes the same note? Are these two notes the same note? And are these two notes the same note? Right? Pause the video, have a little think about it, and come back and have a look at how we work this out. Okay, well you'll actually find that these are exactly the same note. Right? There's middle C, there's B, A, G. Now, for those of you who are maybe saying, nah, I don't understand, why are they the same note? They don't look anything the same. Okay, well remember when we came to here, right? Our grand staff, and we said it right in the middle. That was middle C, right? One note below middle C, that's B, A, G, right? And then remember, we took this line away, right? And then we took this line away. So now that I've taken them away, whoops, now that they've been taken away, that line, the notes are still going down. So it's as if we just draw these extra lines back in. Now this line here, this first line, the middle C line, that's this line here, right? If I can just carry that on. So that could actually be shared. It's actually shared between the treble clef and the bass clef if I draw that line. Maybe I'll draw it in black. It might make more sense if I carry this on in black, right? So now this line here and this line here, if I draw my treble clef here, well that right there looks very much like this here, and it is, right? Now if I take the treble clef away, and I just take that black line away, and I also take that line away, and I do my bass clef, well that bass clef, now that looks exactly like that. So do you see, you can see that these two notes are the same. They're sharing these lines from the grand staff. Okay, maybe let's just carry on a little bit more. It might make a little more sense, right? Let me take these lines away. Now we wanted to work out if this note here, which is a G in bass clef, right, is the same note as this. 1, 2 lines. Okay, let's work it out. Let's see if it is. Here's our middle line that we removed, and there's another line, right? Here's our middle C right here, C. So now if I do this, let's change colors, doesn't this with 1, 2, 3, including our top line, or 2 underneath, doesn't that look exactly the same as this? Our top line, and then 1, 2 underneath. Or if I do it here, middle C, G, middle C here, right? C, B, A, G, C, B, A, G. That may take a little bit of rewinding this video and watching that again to really understand how the two staves link up and share lines. But what I wanted to do is these lines here, these lines, right? These lines which allow notes lower than middle C in the treble clef are also able to go exactly the same way in the bass clef. For example, bass clef. Here's middle C, right? There's middle C. This note here, that in the bass clef, there's middle C. That note there is exactly the same as this note here. C. These notes are both middle C. See how they've got the same line that was running through here? So we've got one line and then another line here. We can imagine that this middle C's line carries on. One line, two line, one line, one line, two lines, right? They're the same note. This is middle C, this is the E. Now, these extra lines that we put in, where we just change over and we kind of share lines and we borrow them back over here, or if the bass clef is going higher than middle C, then we share these lines up here, middle C's line, this line here, we can share. If we wanted to play all the way up here, then we would have to just keep borrowing these lines so that it would look like this. Something like that, right? These lines here are these lines here. Remember when this was squashed down and this was pushed up? That's how that happens. Okay, now last thing for this video is, what are these lines called? These lines are called ledger lines, right? These lines are called ledger lines, right? And the reason they're called, well, I don't actually know why they're called ledger lines. I'm sure it has a reason. Maybe you guys would maybe know or be able to find out by doing a search. But what they are lines which help notes above middle C to be shown in the bass clef, and notes below middle C to be shown in the treble clef. And I hope I haven't confused you. If you are confused, I encourage you to stop this, to rewind this video, watch it again and watch it again, and hopefully it will sink in a little bit clearer each time you watch it. Okay? I look forward to the next video.